Hello everyone, it's Catherine here and we're going through the books of the Bible. So let me do a little bit of recap what we've done up to now. So there's 66 books in the Bible. There are 39 books in the Old Testament and there are 27 books in the New Testament. If you add those two up, you get 66 books. Up to now, we've been discussing the very beginning of the Bible. How does it start? And those are all the law books, the Torah. So it starts with Genesis, the beginning, Exodus, the Israelites are leaving, Leviticus, God is leading, Numbers, God is counting, and Deuteronomy, God is repeating. So Nicole helped us with an amazing lesson last week. So I just want to recap on her lesson because it's helpful as we enter the next bits. So we have the beginning. Remember that Genesis, God created everything, and that's where sin started. Then we had to leave the Garden of Eden, and then we go into what we call the desert time, the yellow desert, dry, hot time. And that is the time of the law books. Things were difficult and under Pharaoh's oppression. And then they left Pharaoh's oppression and they went into the desert because they didn't follow God's law. They disobeyed God's law, and then they were sent into the desert for 40 years. And then they had to try and live by the law, and it was a very, very hard time. And at the end of the law books, we have two characters that God starts talking about, and it's Joshua and Caleb. And they are sent with some spies into what we call the promised land. So they go from the desert and they go to spy out. They go to spy out the promised land. But when they get there around Jericho and all this area, they're like, no, these people are huge, they're powerful, the land is amazing, here's some fruit, let's taste it, the food, it's incredible, but there's no ways. We are not strong enough to go in there, we are scared. But Joshua and Caleb say, no, but God is bigger, God is greater, and with his help we can get this land. And that's the start of all the history books. But if you look at history, it's his story, God's story of what he does in and through his people as they go into the promised land. So they go from the desert time, the law books, into the history, his story books, starting with Joshua and going all the way up to Esther. So this coming week, we're going to start with the book of Joshua, which is the first book in all the history books of the Bible. So I hope this little recap and story when we go from the beginning, Genesis, all the law books that we've learnt about, that's Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Now we go from the desert time into the promised land, into the start of the history book, starting with Joshua. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye for now.